Hi, this is David Byrne. This is the WIRED Autocomplete Interview. Why, when, where, and how? Those are the questions we'll be answering today. Did David Byrne start the Talking Heads? I don't know if I could take full credit for that. I think it might have been the drummer, Chris France, who might have said, hey, you've got some songs. Why don't we, rehearse and learn them and practice them up?
Do you remember how the name came? Was there other names in contention?
Yeah, there was lots of other names. A friend of ours was crashing at our loft, and we had lists of band names. So, and he added to the submission, and I think it came from like a B movie that was on late night TV. Did David Byrne make music with David Bowie? Not to my knowledge. Did David Byrne sing on You Can Call Me Al? Not on the recording, but I did do a performance of it, and Paul Simon watched me from the wings, which was a little bit tough. Kind of like, how am I doing, Paul? How am I doing? Did David Byrne design bike racks? Yes, he did. He's done different kinds, some for specific neighborhoods in New York, and some for I guess what's called the Brooklyn Arts District. You can reconfigure them to make different words. And why did David Byrne start acting? I have no ambition to be an actor. I honestly don't think I'm that good at it, and there are people who are really, really good at it. Occasionally when a movie director friend or someone like that would say, David, will you just do this? It's really easy. Or, as happened in one case, yes, I want you to be in this movie, but just play yourself. So I said, okay, I'll give it a try, but you know I have no ambitions here. So if it doesn't work out, you can fire me. Why is David Byrne in a tutu? Years ago, we played a show at Radio City, and we couldn't get the Rockettes. It was like just incredibly expensive. And so we all decided, okay, let's all put on tutus for the last number, and we'll try and figure out how to do some kind of chorus line thing. Why is his play called American Utopia? It's also the name of the album, the last album I did. And it was not meant facetiously or ironically. It was meant to, I sensed that some of what I was doing on stage and what the band was doing and what the songs were saying were talking about this kind of yearning that we all have to try and discover how to make a better life, how to make a better lives for all of us. And so I thought, I want to kind of follow that. I want to kind of be sincere about that and see if we can represent some of that hope and possibility on stage. Why isn't David Byrne reuniting the Talking Heads? In a nutshell, I think I could say that we came together more as friends than as, incredible musicians. It was really kind of a shared musical taste. And then gradually, as you age and you grow and you explore, your musical tastes start to change. It became more of a kind of a work that we did. We didn't all hang out all the time anymore. So eventually you just kind of drift apart that way. Here we go. What was David Byrne's first hit? It kind of depends. The first really big one was Burning Down the House. But then we did pretty good with Take Me to the River before that. Once in a Lifetime, which is pretty popular, surprisingly was not hardly played on the radio when it came out at all. It was considered too funky for rock radio. What is David Byrne's most played song? I have absolutely no idea. I know that This Must Be the Place gets played at a lot of weddings. People get married to that song. One time when we played Vegas, a band member and I biked by a drive-through church, and we said, can we hire the minister to do a wedding during our show? And so I offered to marry people during the show, and I would sing this song to them. Next one. What did David Byrne win an Oscar for? Not for grammar. I won an Oscar for co-writing the soundtrack to a movie called The Last Emperor. What songs make David Byrne cry? I have a monthly playlist that I post, and one of them was just songs that make me cry, and there's a lot. There's a couple of hours worth at least. One that I remember off the top of my head is a Nico Case song called Honolulu, and then I think it's The Date, and it's a song of her witnessing a mother yelling at her child and telling her child, get the away from me. Why can't you ever do anything right? That kind of stuff where it's just like it just rips you apart because you're in her shoes witnessing this. Yeah. What does David Byrne dance like? That's a matter of opinion. So at some point I realized I was not able to do all the steps that I was seeing other people doing. And I also decided that why should I bother learning that, because they've got that down that perfectly and that's their thing. I need to come up with my own thing. And so gradually, little by little, I adopted some moves that felt comfortable to me. It's like that adage, dance like nobody's watching, which is kind of what I do. And sometimes people do watch because then it's like, ho, what's he doing? Okay, we're gonna go to the next one. Where did David Byrne get his start? I was in a band with some friends at art school in Providence, Rhode Island, really just for fun. We didn't take it seriously. It wasn't like a career move. And then we came to New York and auditioned to play at a club called CBGB's, which was initially meant to be a bluegrass club. And we passed the audition. We got a gig. There was no big plan. It was just kind of, let's write some songs and play them and see if anybody likes it. And a few people did, and then the next time we played, a few more people came, and it seemed to take off eventually. It was slow, which was kind of good. Learned to be a little tighter and less sloppy and all that. Where is David Byrne's big suit? I don't know exactly. Might have been at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, or it might be in storage somewhere, or it might be out going on a tour by itself. I'm not sure.
Do you know what size that would constitute? How many X's in front of that XL?
No idea. It was important to me that the big suit not look like a fat suit, but that it looked like more like a playing card, kind of flat but wide and rectangular. Where does David Byrne record his music? These days, I often record the beginnings of songs or music or whatever at home. And then eventually when it gets to a certain point, I move to a proper recording studio and bring in other musicians and all that. But that's kind of a luxury that we have now, that we can take our time. If we don't like something, there's no embarrassment of saying, oh, that didn't work. You just come in the next morning and go, I'm going to wipe that. There's a little less pressure, but it's still, you do have to have a work ethic to keep at it. Where is David Byrne right now? Where am I right now? I'm in the Condé Nast building, 20-something floor. Okay, thank you. Who introduced David Byrne to music? It would be my parents. Scottish folk music, Mozart. I didn't really adopt any of those, but Pete Seeger, they played Pete Seeger. Who is David Byrne collaborating with? I recently did a song with an Australian artist named Montaigne. She approached me about doing a song together, and we ended up doing 2 songs together, and I think they came out really good. And I did a song for a movie with the artist named Mitski. I did a collaboration with Yola Tango that was something that Ben Gibbard suggested. He was putting together a collection of songs by Yoko Ono. I picked a really old one that's really pretty. Who samples David Byrne? Psycho Killer. There's a Selena Gomez song that has uses kind of the bass line from Psycho Killer. And it's a good song too. Bad Liar, I think that might be the name of it, something like that. Who inspires David Byrne? Well, quite a few people. There's a group out of, I think the West Coast called Gabriel's that I listened to the other day. I thought that was really good. I'm friends with a Brazilian musician, Caetano Veloso. He's always an inspiration because I never know what he's going to do next. The best inspiration is when you don't try and imitate them, but it inspires you to be more of yourself, to express yourself and find your own way of expressing things. Who does David Byrne look like? One time at New Orleans Jazz Fest when I was younger, I was in line getting some gumbo or something like that, and a young man came up to me and said, I know who you are. I know who you are. You're Norman Bates. And I thought, not only does he think I'm a fictional character, but it's a psycho killer. Well, there was not much more I could say about that. Thank you. How does music work, David Byrne? I wrote a book by that name, and I attempt to explore how all these extra musical contexts and factors shape the music that we hear. It might be financial stuff that makes what kind of music you can produce and record. It might be the acoustics of the various rooms that music is performed in that kind of shapes what kind of music is heard best in those rooms. And so, I explored all those kinds of things. How does he write songs? I write songs in lots of different ways. I sometimes start with words. If there's a story, if I've written musicals, then you definitely have to start with the words first. And other times I've got a great musical idea, a nice melody, and I will try and find words that fit that, which is sometimes a little bit of a longer process, but that can work as well.
You look back on your early writing, do you see yourself as a different writer now?
Yes. I think I write different things now than I did then in the past. Occasionally I find some scraps of paper with old lyrics on. Some of them are still useful, but useful because I look at them and I go, I'd never write that today. How does he know Saint Vincent? We both did a concert at Radio City as a benefit. It was called How Dark Was the Night, I think. I'd seen her live at Bowery Ballroom and went up to her and said, I saw your show and I thought it was really good. I really liked your record. That's when we met. We crossed paths again, and someone asked us if we would do a collaboration together, which we did. How many songs does David Byrne have? I haven't kept track. I don't write songs every day. I sort of go through intense periods of writing songs and other periods when I'm doing something completely different. And now, all right, that's it. Next time, let's have something a little more metaphysical, maybe a little more philosophical, something with a little more weighty. I mean, this is the kind of you can find out on Google.